Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Can you shut up?
Welcome to Wake Up Heavy, the world's greatest horror movie podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Wake Up Heavy, Recollections of Horror. This is Mark Begley, your host, and this is the August 2021 catch-up, news and notes, movie watches, and recommendations episode.
That's so interesting.
The biggest news I have is that my daughter, after 17 months, finally went back to in-person school. I believe this is the start of her third week. Things are different here at home. I'm all by myself now. My wife has pretty much been in her office for quite a few months now, and we expected Cleo to be going back. Just never know these days how things are going to work out. Of course, the very first day she was back, my wife got a call that somebody in one of her classes tested positive for COVID. So everybody that was in that group that was unvaccinated needed to quarantine. And I thought, oh, good Lord, the first day of school, is this just going to keep on going and going until they have to stop again? But we haven't gotten another call. It seems like they're doing pretty well. So because I'm home alone, I am out of the little office that I have been using for the past 17 months for work and recording. And I am out in the front room, or what we call the front room. I guess most people call a family room or living room. And the dog is laying next to me. The TV's on. So I've got a different kind of atmosphere here. Probably some different acoustics. Might hear the floor fans a little more, but hopefully I can get rid of any of that noise in the editing process. And so we'll see how this goes. I'm kind of digging being out of that hovel, especially since it gets warmer than the rest of the house by the late afternoon. I don't have much in the way of recordings to announce. The Why Didn't I Rent This and July episodes are the last things I've done, and I haven't recorded with anybody else except for being a part of the latest Ego Fest from Mike White of the Projection Booth, and I will link that on the SoundCloud description, which will, of course, migrate to whatever platform you're listening to this on. I'm not making show notes for these episodes, but it will be in the little description of the episode itself, so you can go listen to that. He does it usually annually, and it's kind of like the news and notes that I do way more regularly for his show. He doesn't do a lot of personal stuff, so it was fun. Got to talk with him and Aaron Peterson from the Hollywood Outsider website. Yeah, that was something I was really looking forward to doing. I do have stuff coming up, and I'll get to that at the end of the episode. So for now, let's talk about movie watches. You know, since I am out front, if the dog happens to bark, it's going to be a hell of a lot louder than it normally is when I'm tucked away in that room. So hopefully the mailman doesn't show up while I'm doing this. So, movie watches. And again, if I'm talking about it, it's most likely a recommendation. I may throw in the odd, I didn't care for this from time to time, but I don't think there's anything on my list that's like that this time.
That doesn't sound right.
So let's start with rewatches. Macabre, which I did the Why Didn't I Rent This On, was a favorite rewatch of mine. Went back into the spaghetti western genre and watched 2 of the Dollars trilogy, A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More, and I believe The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is going to be on TCM later this month. I have it set to record. And this was, I think, still back before Cleo started school, and I was just out here watching them, and she came out, and I pointed out some dialogue in, I believe it's Fistful of Dollars, because one of my favorite songs of all time is Big Audio Dynamite's Medicine Show. They have a bunch of clips from spaghetti westerns in that. The song is basically kind of inspired by spaghetti westerns. And we have heard that song in the car a million times and have talked about it, and you hear the famous I rewound the movie and played a few of the clips for her, and she at first didn't recognize where they were from, and then I had to go back and play the song, so.
Get 3 coffins ready. You making some kind of joke? No. I don't think it's nice you laughing.
I watched Mike Nichols' Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, his first film, and a very successful film for the day. Got nominated, I think, for Oscars in nearly every possible category. And back when I was on my Mike Nichols kick in the early 90s, this was one of my favorites. And I would take it home from the rental store, the video store that I worked at the time, and watch it. I haven't been able to watch it in a while because it ratchets up my anxiety because of the mind games that Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton play throughout the whole movie. But I caught the beginning of it one day on TCM while I was out here working and decided to sit through it again for the first time in years. And I love it. And one of my favorite things about the movie is Sandy Dennis. She is just absolutely amazing in it.
They're dancing like they danced before.
It's a familiar dance, Monkey Nipples. They both know it.
I don't know what you mean.
I rewatched the Alan Ormsby, Bob Clark flick, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, and I'll get back to that at the end of the episode here, because there's a reason why I watched it. Went back and rewatched The Friends of Eddie Coyle, which had played during that neo-noir thing. I just didn't watch it then because I had watched it fairly recently, and it just kept popping up on Twitter. People were talking about it, posting pictures and things, and I thought, oh crap, I'll just watch it again. So it's on Canopy right now, which is always helpful because that's a free service you can get through your library, so check it out. And I had a little heist day, or I wanted to do a heist day because of that, and so I asked for recommendations, got a lot of good ones, but ended up going back to one of my sort of new favorites. I never watched this as a kid. I don't recall ever seeing it as a kid. I've probably mentioned it in the past couple months for watch list movie recommendations, but I rewatched The Taking of Pelham 123.
Well, it's the taking of the Pelham 123.
Because I loved Walter Matthau in that movie, and I think that his line reading of Shaddup is one of the greatest things to ever happen on this planet.
Well, tell him to shut up and get off the air and eat some more lines open here.
And I just have a soft spot for Walter Matthau. He ended up marrying William Saroyan's ex-wife, and I wish I could find the clip. I saw it on something, I think, about Saroyan years ago, maybe on PBS. William Saroyan is one of Fresno's most well-known exports, at least when I was growing up. Maybe not so many people know about him today. He won the Pulitzer Prize, world-famous author, playwright, and Walter Matthau talking about William Saroyan just tickles me. I don't think he cared for him all that much. because of these heist movies, that led me to Miami Blues, which I hadn't watched in ages. And again, it seemed to be popping up on my social media. And I always think it's a Jonathan Demme. Well, it kind of is a Jonathan Demme movie. He produced it. I don't know if he wanted to direct it or was supposed to direct it and didn't. But it's got some of his regulars in it, and it just has the feel of a Jonathan Demme movie. And I don't think I have seen that probably since the 90s. Maybe Alec Baldwin's greatest performance. Fred Ward is wonderful as the goofy cop with the teeth that keep coming out. And then lastly, which I watched yesterday, my favorite rewatch of the month is Messiah of Evil. I hadn't watched it in a while because I bought a DVD of it and thought I was buying the widescreen version. This is a movie that is notorious for its bad copies, its bad prints. It's usually this really crappy VHS rip that is, the wrong aspect ratio, looks really bad. And I did all this searching online and thought I had the right one, bought it through Amazon, put it on. Nope, it's the crappy version. It's on Shudder right now, and it is the widescreen version. Definitely looks a lot better than any of the widescreen versions I'd previously watched, which was probably on YouTube. It's playing on a lot of services. I just don't know if those other services have the widescreen edition. But watching it yesterday just reminded me how much I really enjoy this movie. The music, the acting, the cinematography, it's weird, and it's my kind of weird, and I gotta get a good DVD of that because I don't want to rely solely on streaming. Watches with Cleo didn't have that many because, well, she went back to school. We, as a family, watched Suicide Squad, the one from however many years ago. Not the new one, but we watched it because I thought we might watch the new one. I did not like this. I am not a big fan of DC's movies. This is a good example of that. The reshoots are so obvious. Kinnaman, whatever his name is on the movie, his hair changes lengths, not just from scene to scene, but within scenes. And that just kind of drives me nuts. Didn't care for the story, didn't care for the acting. Won't be watching that one again. We watched Creepshow and Creepshow 2, mainly because of the Stephen King thing and having watched Cujo previously. I think she enjoyed him pretty well. I'm a fan of Creepshow 2. I like that one. We watched The Terminator, which is one that I had been bringing up to her, and I kept mentioning, this was a low-budget film, and she was kind of surprised by that. I think it worked for her. And we got around to Pet Sematary, which I had mentioned last time we had thought about because of Cujo. And we'll see. Maybe we'll watch the remake or the new one sometime soon. And then now there's going to be another one coming up. It might be a prequel. I don't know. Our least successful watch was An American Werewolf in London.
I see the moon rising.
She didn't care for that one too much. I'm not sure if it was the See You Next Wednesday stuff or what, but it didn't go over well with her. And I was a little bit surprised because that's one of my all-time favorites. Favorite first-time watches this month, I dipped back into the Thomas McGuane pool, and this is the guy that wrote the screenplay for Rancho Deluxe, which I'm kind of feeling like is going to end up being my favorite new discovery of 2021.
Rancho Deluxe.
So I was looking for Harry Dean Stanton, Warren Oates movies. They've been in a number of films together. Cockfighter for one, which I loved. 92 in the Shade. I kept seeing that one. I was thinking it was a Monty Hellman film because of that connection with the actors. And then realized, oh no, this is from the guy that wrote Rancho Deluxe. And he wrote this one based on one of his novels and also directed it. So Warren Oates, Harry Dean Stanton returns, and a bunch of other people from Rancho Deluxe. Elizabeth Ashley, Joe Spinell. You get to see him in a Speedo in this one, which is amazing.
That doesn't sound right.
I think maybe one or two other actors from Rancho Deluxe, and then Margot Kidder is in it in a not so big role, but she's kind of amazing in this. She and this Thomas McGuane married, and I believe they met during the filming of this. Married, had a kid together, and got divorced all pretty quickly. And he was also at one time in a relationship with Elizabeth Ashley, who's in this, and Rancho Deluxe. So I got to get into more of this guy's stuff. I hadn't watched this before, I think because Peter Fonda is the star, and I'm not the biggest Peter Fonda fan, but I liked him in this. It is similar to Rancho Deluxe, but it is a lot meaner. Warren Oates has got this kind of seething anger throughout the film that washes over the entire experience, but definitely would recommend that one. And I went back to, that got me thinking of Rancho Deluxe, got me thinking of Jeff Bridges, something I hadn't seen. I thought I hadn't seen in a long time. I'm kind of thinking I haven't seen it at all, is Thunderbolt and Lightfoot with him and Clint Eastwood, directed by Michael Cimino, and really enjoyed this. Again, goes along kind of with my whole heist thing. I've been watching these heist movies. The ending of this really bummed me out. It has that very nihilistic 70s ending, but I enjoyed it. Jeff Bridges is just great in these 70s films. He always plays kind of a goofball. I watched Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and I don't know if I watched these as a kid. I was never a big fan of them or the Three Stooges or the Marx Brothers when I was a kid. I don't know. That slapsticky kind of humor just never worked for me. And I know that I've mentioned before, I am a Little Rascals guy. But this was pretty fun, and I think I'm going to watch a few of the other ones too. In the Earth, this is Ben Wheatley's new one. This was all shot during the pandemic, and it plays on that as far as the plot of the movie. I have not liked his last 3 movies. I really love Kill List. That's one of my favorite movies, modern horror movies of the last 10 years or so. His movie before that, Sightseers, I really enjoyed. I didn't like A Field in England. I didn't like High Rise. I didn't like, what's that crime one? Free Fire. Maybe I'll go back and give Free Fire and A Field in England a chance. I have no intention of watching High Rise ever again. But I will watch whatever he puts out because of the strength of Kill List. And I enjoyed this one. I think it popped up on Hulu today. Today's the 1st. So you have 2 options to catch it. And I would recommend it. Pretty trippy. Definitely getting back to that feel of Kill List and Sightseers for me. Then I watched an Ozploitation film that I had been looking for a while. That long folk horror documentary that I've mentioned, and I can't remember the title. I might have to insert that here with my robot.
Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched, A History of Folk Horror.
It's getting this massive boxed set release with that movie, the documentary itself, and then all these folk horror movies, including this one, Allison's Birthday. Eyes of Fire is going to be on it, and they're also releasing that separately, so you will hear about that when it comes out. I'm going to get that Blu-ray, probably not the box set because it's really expensive, but there is just some amazing stuff. There's like 20 movies on it, so it's just this massive box set of folk horror. I'm going to definitely get Eyes of Fire. I'll probably do an episode on it, even though I did a Why Didn't I Rent This? But it'll be my first time seeing it remastered. And this movie will be on there too, but I thought, well, let me see if I enjoy this before kind of taking the plunge or anything. And I did have a soft spot for Ozploitation, and this was an interesting soul-swapping story, and had some funky stuff in it. Some odd touches that, of course, I tend to gravitate toward. I watched the film Nobody with, oh, now I'm blanking on his name. Doggone it. The guy from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I'll have to have my robot insert that too.
Bob Odenkirk.
Not big on modern action films, but I really enjoyed this. The fight choreography is amazing. He really pulled off being a older action star, and Christopher Lloyd gets to kick some ass in it, so that was a lot of fun. Almost forgot to mention Pocket Money, a movie I'd never heard of. Apparently it's pretty underseen, according to Ben Mankiewicz on TCM. Written by Terrence Malick, starring Paul Newman and Lee Marvin, and it reminded me a lot of Rancho Deluxe. Here we go again.
Rancho Deluxe.
Goofy cowpokes, and I don't think I've ever seen Paul Newman or Lee Marvin act like such goofballs before in a movie. Bring on the Goofy Cowboy movies. And then my last new watch was back to Walter Matthau land with Charlie Varick. Again, heist movie. This is one of the movies that people recommended for me. I had been wanting to see it for a long time. I asked Chris to put it on his Plex. He did, watched it, loved it. You just can't beat 70s Walter Matthau as kind of a heel. Alright, that does it for my watch list and movie recs. I mentioned Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. That's the big stuff that's coming up at the end of the year. I don't know if I've mentioned it yet. Doing a series on the films that Alan Ormsby and Bob Clark made together in the early 70s. I feel like I've brought this up before, so maybe I have. Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things with Mike and Heather Drain. Going to do Deranged with Mike and Chris Dashew. And then we'll finish it up with Death Dream with Mike and Sam Deegan. So that'll be most likely released in October, November, and December to lead up to me being on the projection booth for Black Christmas, Bob Clark's other film from 1974, although Alan Ormsby was not connected with that one. And then next week, I will be recording a special guest episode with a fella from another podcast, and we'll get into all that on the episode. That'll be out in a couple of weeks, because shortly after we record, I'm actually going to be traveling out of town. But that should be mid-September. This is like the Poltergeist episode I did with Chris Dashew, like the Howling episode I did with my friend Ronald Zurigian. And so we're going to be talking about the movie that he brings to the table, which is An American Werewolf in London. I think that should cover the news and notes. All right, don't forget you can buy swag at TeePublic. That link is all over my social media and the website. If you or your kids are back at school, my fingers are crossed for you. Everyone else, be safe, be smart, be sensible, and don't forget.
Anything can happen when you wake up heavy.
When you're Shaddup.
Your
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.